This is the story of how a single pastry exposed the crumbling facade of a $1 billion brand. In less than 48 hours, what looked like a harmless lifestyle post on social media unraveled into a devastating metaphor for commercial desperation. It is a masterclass in the illusion of power versus the staggering reality of irrelevance. In this video, we are going to unpack a highly specific timeline. We will look at exactly what happened when a casual public comment from Prince William triggered an immediate, deeply calculated response from across the Atlantic. More importantly, we will explore the dark psychological truth behind this exchange. This is not just a story about strawberry jam or clotted cream. It is a forensic look at a moral contradiction and the weaponization of family and what happens when the very institution you tried to destroy becomes the only oxygen keeping your public profile alive. To truly understand the sheer humiliation of this moment, we have to remember the altitude from which Meghan Markle fell just a few years ago. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were positioned as the untouchable modernizers of the global elite. They commanded a staggering narrative. They signed a $100 million contract with Netflix. They launched a Spotify podcast intended to redefine modern discourse. They sat down with Oprah Winfrey in a televised event that brought the British monarchy to a temporary standstill. They were royalty untethered from protocol, armed with immense privilege, limitless wealth, and a global audience hanging onto their every word. They demanded privacy while simultaneously orchestrating the most aggressive, highly visible public relations machine in the modern entertainment industry. That was the golden era. It was a period where they dictated the narrative and the world obediently listened. Now look at the present reality. The grand Hollywood reinvention has seemingly stalled. The exclusive streaming deals have fractured under the weight of unfulfilled promises. The red carpets are less frequent. The elite circles have quietly distanced themselves. And the once untouchable global icon is now standing in an impeccably staged kitchen. She wears a pristine white apron, attempting to sell small batch fruit spreads through an Instagram brand that bafflingly lacks both a concrete launch date and a coherent business strategy. The contrast is not just stark, it is a textbook example of schadenfreude, where the public watches a carefully constructed empire shrink into a desperate exercise in influencer marketing. The timeline of this specific collapse begins in late May. It started with Prince William. Far away from the curated aesthetics of California, the Prince of Wales sat down for a remarkably unforced, light-hearted interview. The topic was trivial but deeply embedded in British culture. He was asked to weigh in on the great traditional debate regarding scones. Do you apply the clotted cream first or the jam first? William casually shared that his grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth, preferred cream first the Devonian way. He laughed off the alternative methods. It was a charming, effortless moment. It was a man completely at ease with his heritage, his position, and his public. He did not need a script. He did not need a ring light. He did not require a team of producers to engineer his likability. He simply existed within the natural authority of his role. That type of organic, unforced relevance is exactly what cannot be bought. And more importantly, it is exactly what Meghan Markle's current public relations strategy is failing to replicate. What happened next is where the story shifts from a casual royal anecdote into a display of staggering commercial desperation. Within 48 hours of Prince William's interview making the rounds online, Meghan Markle's brand released a highly specific update. It was a social media recipe for baking warm scones, explicitly meant to be topped with her proprietary strawberry spread. Let us pause and analyze the devastating deeper meaning of this decision. We are told repeatedly by the Sussex camp that they have moved on. We are told they do not read the press. They do not engage with the royal drama, and they are building a completely independent future in America. Yet the timing tells a profoundly different story. Out of all the baked goods, out of all the culinary traditions in the world, Meghan chose to highlight scones just 2 days after the future King of England made headlines discussing them. The physical details of this stunt make it even more glaring. The recipe was released during Memorial Day weekend in the United States. Memorial Day is a deeply American holiday characterized by barbecues, burgers, and outdoor grilling. In what universe is a delicate British scone with clotted cream a staple of an American Memorial Day weekend? It is completely disconnected from the culture she claims to be embracing. Furthermore, the recipe was reportedly distributed using United Kingdom measurements. This small, unbothered detail is actually the most damning piece of emotional evidence. It exposes a fatal flaw in her public relations strategy. She is attempting to sell a California lifestyle brand, but her entire inspirational compass is still fiercely locked onto the British royal family. This is not just bad marketing, it is a psychological tell. It suggests an obsessive monitoring of the very institution she claimed was toxic. When Prince William speaks, she reacts. When the palace generates effortless organic press, she attempts to manufacture a parallel moment. But it only highlights the catastrophic difference between genuine royal authority and a low-budget simulation. Viewers immediately noticed the horrific audio quality of the promotional clip. The lighting was overly produced, yet the execution felt remarkably amateur. It boggled the mind that someone who presents herself as an elite Hollywood producer could not master the basic technical requirements of a short social media video. But the humiliation did not stop at the scone recipe. When the baked goods failed to generate the desired internet dominance, the strategy shifted to a much darker and more controversial tactic: the weaponization of family. For years, the absolute cornerstone of Prince Harry and Meghan's public platform has been the fierce protection of their children's privacy. They have launched legal battles over it. They have condemned the media for invading their family life. They demanded that their children be permanently shielded from the spotlight. Yet in a desperate bid to create viral traction for a failing product rollout, those boundaries abruptly vanished. A coordinated briefing was suddenly fed to a notoriously friendly American entertainment magazine. The article attempted to frame the promotional video as something deeply heartwarming by revealing the private nicknames of the children. We were told that the little boy is called Arch and the little girl is called Lil. The transition from demanding the official titles of Prince and Princess to suddenly marketing them as Arch and Lil is a staggering pivot. It is an attempt to sound folksy, relatable, and intimately domestic, all while quietly leveraging their royal bloodline for commercial gain. It was a calculated drop of personal information designed exclusively to drive consumer traffic toward a lifestyle brand. The public saw right through it. The ethical collapse here is staggering. To use your toddlers as emotional props to sell jam, after spending years lecturing the global public and the British press about the sacred nature of their privacy, is a moral contradiction that shatters whatever credibility remains. The audience recognized the unspoken truth. When the luxury aesthetic failed and when the elite Hollywood connections faded, the only currency left to exploit was the children. It was a moment of profound isolation. A woman standing in an artificial kitchen echoing a culture she formerly rejected, using her family as marketing tools just to stay relevant in the news cycle. But while Meghan was desperately trying to orchestrate a public relations victory through an Instagram post, a very different scene was unfolding back in England. A subtle, completely unscripted moment caught on camera involving Prince William was about to go viral. And this single silent gesture from the prince would not only humiliate the Sussex camp further, but it would reveal the cold, terrifying reality of how the palace has permanently chosen to deal with Meghan Markle. The door was not just closed, it was locked, and the true psychological warfare was only just beginning. While the Sussex public relations machine was working overtime to generate headlines about strawberry jam and cute nicknames, a completely different narrative was unfolding in the United Kingdom. It was a moment that captured the stark, devastating contrast between authentic, unforced relevance and desperate commercial manufacturing. Prince William was attending an Aston Villa football match. The atmosphere was electric, raw, and entirely unscripted. As his beloved team secured a monumental victory, William was caught on camera in the stands, visibly euphoric, holding up his phone to record the celebration. In the middle of this joyous, unguarded moment, a call came through on his phone, interrupting his screen. Without missing a beat, without a flicker of annoyance or hesitation, William casually swiped the call away and continued filming the crowd. The clip instantly went viral. To the untrained eye, it was just a relatable moment of a sports fan ignoring an ill-timed phone call. But to those who understand the intricate, silent language of royal public relations, it was a profound metaphor. It represented the exact strategy the palace has adopted regarding the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. It is the weaponization of absolute indifference. For years, Meghan Markle's narrative relied on the assumption that she was locked in an active, bitter war with the palace. The Sussex brand was built on the idea of being targeted, discussed, and feared by the institution. But William's casual swipe at the football match physically embodied the chilling new reality. There is no war anymore because the palace has simply stopped playing. They are no longer angry, they are no longer briefing against her. They are completely and utterly unbothered. The door has not been slammed in a fit of rage, it has simply been locked, and the key has been thrown away while the royal family goes about their daily lives. This is the psychological context that makes the American Riviera Orchard campaign feel so deeply tragic. When you are met with a wall of silence from the very people you are trying to provoke, the natural response is to escalate. If they will not acknowledge your power, you must manufacture proof of it. But without the backing of the crown, without the immense historic machinery of the monarchy behind her, Meghan is forced to rely on the exact same tactics as reality television stars and mid-tier social media influencers. Let us analyze the chilling reality of this brand. Months after its initial soft launch, there is still no actual product available for the public to purchase. There is no supply chain, no retail strategy, and no clear corporate structure. What exists is a highly curated Instagram grid, a series of staged photos, and a handful of PR packages sent out to famous acquaintances. It is not a business, it is a mechanism for relevance. It is a digital mirage designed to create the illusion of a bustling empire. But the empty jars and the lack of a launch date tell a story of profound operational chaos. This commercial desperation has forced a brutal recalibration of their public identities, particularly for Prince Harry. The transition is staggering to witness. This is a man who was once at the absolute center of global diplomacy. He commanded military initiatives, launched the Invictus Games, and held the ear of world leaders. Now, his primary function in the media cycle is to be briefly mentioned as a consumer of his wife's raspberry spread. He has been relegated to a supporting character in a domestic lifestyle vlog. The emasculation of his historic royal status for the sake of an Instagram brand is one of the most remarkable public downgrades in modern history. And this brings us back to the most devastating aspect of the entire saga, The Children. The strategic release of the nicknames Arch and Lil to a sympathetic tabloid is not merely a breach of their own stated boundaries, it is a point of no return. When you cross the line of utilizing your own children as commercial bait, you confirm to the world and to your estranged family that nothing is sacred. The palace watches these developments not with fear, but with a quiet, exhausted pity. Any lingering hope of reconciliation, any whispers of a return to the royal fold for a part-time role, are instantly incinerated by stunts like this. The institution of the monarchy relies on mystique duty and an unwavering commitment to public service over private gain. Watching a former senior royal use the titles of prince and princess to peddle kitchenware is viewed as a staggering vulgarity. It confirms every suspicion the palace ever held about the Sussexes' fundamental misunderstanding of royal duty. This story resonates so deeply with the public because it is a modern-day Greek tragedy disguised as a celebrity dispute. It is fundamentally about the illusion of power and the corrosive nature of hubris. We are watching what happens when someone mistakes proximity to power for actual power. Meghan Markle believed that the global adoration she received as a working royal was entirely her own, separate from the thousand-year-old institution standing behind her. She believed she could replicate that global dominance from a mansion in California using nothing but a ring light and a PR agency. But true cultural power cannot be bought, and it certainly cannot be manufactured in a sterile, highly produced kitchen. It is earned through consistency duty and a willingness to be part of something larger than oneself. By rejecting the hierarchy of the royal family, Meghan demanded absolute control over her narrative. But total control often leads to total isolation. She's now trapped in an echo chamber of her own making, forced to endlessly commodify her private life, her marriage, and her children just to sustain the illusion of an empire. The tragic irony is that in her quest to find freedom from the invasive gaze of the British press, she has become her own most invasive paparazzi. She is leaking her own private family moments, orchestrating her own viral stunts, and desperately trying to remain tethered to the very family she claims to despise. The scone recipe was not a tribute to British culture, it was a distress signal. It was a glaring admission that despite the millions of dollars and the Hollywood connections, the only thing that actually generates interest in the Meghan Markle brand is her proximity to the people who have long since stopped answering her calls. As the British monarchy rolls forward, entirely unbothered commanding global respect and historic continuity, the California offshoot continues to shrink. The contrast is final. One institution relies on legacy, while the other relies on an endless, exhausting hustle for relevance. And as the public watches this silent, devastating warfare play out, the ultimate truth becomes undeniable. you can walk away from the palace. But if you have to spend the rest of your life trying to prove you are happier without them, you never really left at all. Thank you for watching this deep dive. If you value this kind of restrained, forensic analysis of the stories shaping our culture, make sure to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. We will see you in the next video.